This thing working? All right, everybody. How's it going? First live stream, so give me a minute. I look a little rough, but I got a lot. I got a lot on my mind right now after this game. Damn, super disappointing. Just overall, a really bad performance. When you look at how Chelsea were set up in the beginning, it's like almost Tuchel didn't learn anything from the Man City performance. So super, super bad. Daniel Wilkinson, that was embarrassing. It was extremely embarrassing. It was just a really, really, really tough game to watch. I got my first guest coming in here, Helgi. You should know him on Twitter. Helgi, what's going on, man? How are you?
Well, I would lie if I said I'm fine because of the result, of course. But it was a disappointing performance overall. We didn't show the right intensity and the reaction that you should have expected from a team who had a 1-0 loss against Man City on Saturday. I don't know what to say. I think that's not the moment to panic, but it was a frustrating game because I think we tried very hard in terms of giving everything, pushing to the final third in order to get an equalizer at last. It wasn't meant to be, so I'm overall disappointed, but hopefully we can get over this and have a better performance against Southampton.
Yeah, it was. I think it was like the same story twice against Man City. I mean, Juventus tried to do the exact same thing that Man City did, and it worked. And we look at what happened with Lukaku and why we brought him in, to give you that focal point against the low block, and yet you're going to not give him the ball in certain situations. I just thought that this has been over 4 games now. It's been the same thing over and over and over and over. While we have played some lesser teams and whatnot, and we've been able to get through those games, if you look overall at the style of play, I mean, we aren't playing that great. Our points are there, but it's not like we're having these dominating performances that we would expect. You kind of know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't call ball possession and having the territory of the game in your favor domination. So I totally agree with you in terms of creating chances. We haven't been as sharp as we were in the first 4 or 5 games of this season. And I wanted to talk about this creativity issue in particular because it was obvious tonight as well that against a team who was very well organized at the back. Actually, it's the second time that we are facing two teams that are very well organized at the back, like Zenit was, and fortunately it was a positive result for us. And now Juventus, a more experienced team in this level. So we struggled a lot in terms of creating chances and supplying Lukaku with the right balls. I think it was only one occasion when he could have done better when Barkley tried to play the vertical pass and he hold off, I think, the league, if I'm not wrong, and send the ball after behind Szczesny's goal. So in terms of this creativity issue, I believe that it has been one of the reasons why I wanted us to sign someone who could provide us sort of something out of nothing, like Jack Grealish should do very well at Aston Villa, or Ruben when pre-injury in Europa League, when he played more as an advanced 10, and he would be very good in terms of breaking defenses and also surging forward in the box and creating things out of nothing. But I'm overall disappointed with Ziyech and especially especially Havertz tonight. Not only for his two headers, because these are things that happen, especially for a player who isn't a typical number 9. But I'm disappointed with him in terms of his body language as well, which has been, I think, his main problem since he arrived. But fortunately, he improved significantly in this aspect after Tuchel's arrival, when he changed his position from number 8 to a more of a false 9. And now I think he's showing, since the season has started, he has been showing the same body language problems, especially when he drives wide and gets dispossessed very easily. So this is not what we can expect from an inverted forward on a player like him. And this leads us to this kind of hypothetical questions, that if Mount was playing, would we have more like sharpness in the final third, in terms of, because we know that Mount, even when he has bad decision making, he can provide us with the right intensity in this kind of moments and help creating 3 versus 2 or 2 versus 1 situations. But this remains such a hypothetical stuff to have, and now we can say that hopefully it improves over time and they build a better chemistry with Lukaku.
Well, and when you talk about Ziyech in general, I mean, I just think that he doesn't offer enough to warrant the playing time that he's been given. And I understand that in a European match where he is, let's say, he's more apt to put a performance rather than the more physical nature of the Premier League. I just think that Thomas Tuchel needs to sit down over this international break and figure out how we're going to use Romelu Lukaku against the low block. I just think when you get down to the meat and potatoes of it, that's the issue. You see time after time after time that he's just begging for the ball. He's begging for it. We have so much possession throughout the game where they're passing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, bringing it around the midfield. And I understand why you want to do that, to break down, to move the defense. But if you don't have a Callum Hudson-Odoi in his preferred position, if you don't have a Christian Pulisic in, if you don't have players that are going to be able to go in, slide in, and try to penetrate that defensive block, you have to try to get service to your striker, whether that's crossing the ball in, getting it to his feet. One of the problems also is when you try to give Lukaku the ball to his feet, teams know at this point that instantly 3 defenders are on him before he even gets the touch on it. So what is he gonna? What can we do, in your opinion, to get Lukaku those opportunities? Because, man, he almost scored. He had one really good opportunity, but I think that, for me, my answer to my own question is they need to be able to get him more touches. Even if they're not the greatest opportunities, you get quantity. Since you're not getting quality, you got to get quantity into him, because he's going to come good on at least one of them. But you said what? He only has 2 chances in a game. Is he able to, that's not enough chances for him. I mean, he's a great striker and he's going to score a lot of goals, but the blueprint's out there. How do you want to stop Chelsea? And until we have creation, like you mentioned about buying someone or getting Pulisic or putting Callum in his preferred spot, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, I think this sort of lack of chemistry you're talking about is shown also so it's a dualism of lack of information, level of communication between Lukaku and the two inverted forwards that play behind him. Not only when Mount or Havertz or Ziyech try to feed him with balls, but also when it's a contrary aspect that Lukaku uses his physical to hold off defenders, and he plays the ball back to the one who gave him the ball. It's the same issue, especially against Zenit. We were that Mount and Ziyech should play the ball to Lukaku, and he would give them back immediately, and they wouldn't like have a quick shot, first time shot on goal or something that could have been translated in assists for Lukaku. In this kind of system, there are a lot of players who actually play outside their natural positions. Ziyech is one of them because he's on that kind of player, at least in my opinion, from whom you can expect that kind of intensity, like Mount shows or Werner sometimes when he uses his speed. But he has always played in that right winger role where he prefers to cut inside and give crosses with his left foot into the far post, and somewhat he gets limited when he plays in a more central position and gets surrounded by a lot of opponents in that half space. So in order to build a better chemistry with Lukaku, I don't think that it will be a change of system altogether soon. But I think that when Mount and especially Pulisic is at his best, he's very direct player, not only in terms of scoring goals, but also in terms of giving assists. Both legs against Madrid showed what I'm saying. I think we'll see more of a link up between this kind of guys and Lukaku up front. It's not a game, I think, tonight to draw conclusions in this in terms of this topic, because Lukaku was, as you said, completely isolated inside Juventus boxes. Is one of those games when you need some sort of tactical excellence, and Juventus actually showed it for large parts of the game. But I think that we have to see also against Southampton, and as you said, even after the international break, if we if we can remove or erase this kind of lackluster that is being is existing in terms of our attacking threat now, and hope that we will have more opportunities. I don't think it will be a system change. I expect more of the personnel. Maybe in the future, Ruben will be used behind Lukaku, and I don't think this wouldn't be a bad opportunity. Barkley seemingly has been. I don't really trust him, but Thomas is showing that he can be a wild card option sometimes. So I think it will be a personal matter, and when all are back, when all are available, I think we will see. Hopefully, they are back as soon as possible, especially from starting from the Southampton game. But
Helgi, let me cut you off for a second here. I got a couple more guys that I'm adding in here. Just give me 1 minute. All right, we got Alex H here as well from Byline Avengers Group, as well as Wildberry CFC. Guys, how you doing? We're just kind of in the middle of talking about kind of what went wrong here. Alex, my man, I'll just kind of start with you real quick. What happened? I mean, what went wrong?
I have to say, before the game even started, I asked myself, let's have a look at the results for the under-19s. Ask yourself, basically have a look. Did they win? Did they lose? Did they draw? Now, the thing is that most often, there seems to be this situation where if the under-19s lose, then the senior team also loses. I don't know why, but I've seen that quite often. Guess what? The under-19s lost 3-1, and obviously the senior team loses 1-0. Obviously, the score is not exactly the same. I highly doubt it would be. But already, my instincts kicked in that there's a huge possibility that we might lose this game.
Mhm.
And yes, okay, they lost some key players. They don't have some key players in Morata, Dybala. I think Benkentor was playing. Who else did they not have?
Say was absent.
Chiellini wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they had some key players missing, but despite that, there was that solid compactness in defense from them. That's what I saw, is that they really tried very well to limit what Chelsea did, and they did so successfully, which is unfortunate. And but at the same time, also we had loads of opportunities to capitalize ourselves. Let's not deny that. But the problem is that we were passive until Juventus scored, and that reminded me very much of the City game, where we were somewhat passive until City score, and then we go on the offensive, we go for it. But the thing is, you can't be doing that. You got to do that from minute one. You got to, you see how Aston Villa played, right? Did you see how they played in the Cup and obviously in the Premier League? That intensity on the counter, like going through fast, going through with pressing, with intensity. That's what you need to see. If you're going to go on the counter, do it that way. I didn't see that from Chelsea.
No. And they're, like you were saying, though, I just don't know what is the problem out of the gates. Because, like it happened against Man City, the second that goal goes in our net, bam. Everything we should have saw from minute one is happening now.
Magically appears.
Right, exactly.
You know what's also interesting is that that's been happening for years. That's not that's not just 2 games. We've seen this under other managers, under Conte, under Sarri, under Lampard, under Mourinho. Something is happening in terms of like the mentality of the squad where it's contagious. And I can't pinpoint what specifically is going on. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like this is one of the stages where I think people need to realize that the hangover from the Champions League and a Super Cup is over.
It's over.
Yeah.
And now it's okay, reality kicks in. How do we wake up?
Yeah. Kind of I see you kind of fuming over there, boiling up. I mean, it's just when you look at the performance, and Alex is exactly right. Wake up. It's not just because you won the Champions League last year. It doesn't mean a damn thing now. It doesn't. It's a new season.
And everyone puts us as the favorites. Exactly. But
right.
The thing is, we were the underdogs. No one believed that we were going to win the Champions League. Sorry, I am cutting you off, but basically, no one expected us to win the Champions League.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we're now favorites to win it again. And look at the pressure. I think the pressure has probably got to the players when the manager says, we used to be underdogs, now we're the favorites. It's like he doesn't trust his players when they're the favorites. Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Kind of go ahead, man.
Scott, so building off of Alex's point, I remember I think on the Byline podcast, Monster CFC mentioned, he said, the big teams he wasn't worried about, it was the small teams. Every time for the last couple of years, what do the small teams do against us? They shack up with 10 men in the box, and then we're just like, I don't know. Maybe eventually we'll throw in some crosses and just hope for the best, and then we get smoked on the counterattack. Yeah. Now we got a team like Juventus doing it, and they're gonna, to be fair, it's like we tried to do what Juventus did to us against City on Saturday, and like that was good defending versus good attacking. It took a deflected goal, but watching that City game, did the City attack look anything like our attack this game? They had all the possession, but they were moving the ball around. How many saves did Mendy have to make versus how many saves did Szczesny have to make? He was barely pressed. It's just, we kind of moved the ball around. No shots from distance. It's like, hey, Ziyech, if you're there, take that shot from the top of the box that you like, but his upside is not, I know it's like he tries stuff that don't come off usually, but it worked. Like it'll work. It'll be magic at one time. When was the last time we had a Ziyech in swing cross for header, a goal?
Yeah, and I tweeted it out. I was like, if he's his one thing that you can say he's good at is crossing the ball in, right? And if he's not doing that, what does he offer? I mean, really, what does he offer?
Yeah,
and
but this is where I have to blame Tuchel, because Tuchel is playing him as a left striker. He's playing him.
Exactly.
Look, I mean, the thing about Tuchel is he wants two players up front. And I have no problem if you want to go with two players up top. But if you're going to play two players out of the front three that like to drop deep and influence the play,
exactly. You just leave.
I'm sorry, you are literally not even suiting the style that you're looking for. So that's why, I mean, in the group chat what we discussed, I basically said, right, this is the option. Option one, you either have Lukaku or Havertz, because those two players in the starting 11, those two players like to drift to the right-hand side of the pitch. They like to dominate those half spaces at times. They're very similar, but so you basically go for that. That's option. That's basically one of the sides. The second side is your Werner, your Pulisic, your Hudson-Odoi. And then the third option is the third of the front three would be your Mount, your Ruben Loftus-Cheek, your Hakim Ziyech. Because those, obviously, the Mounts, the Loftus-Cheek, the Hakim Ziyech, those are the ones that like to drop deep and influence the play.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So we were talking about after Man City, right? We were saying whose fault is this? And I think kind of as a conclusive group, we thought it was Tuchel setting the shop up wrong. Now I'm going to start with Helgi here. Do you think it was Tuchel now, or do you think it's a little bit more the players at this point?
Well, I made a point before about the personnel. I think that we will have the opportunity to make better judgments when all players are fit, and I have now it's seemingly obvious that Mount's absence has been evident despite his decision-making problems in counter situation like 3 versus 2 or 2 versus 1. He provides that kind of intensity, getting the ball back. So I wouldn't say that it's a Tuchel problem in this kind of moment, because I don't really like reactionary takes as well, at least in my opinion. I think it's a player problem, and we discussed before about Ziyech in particular, and I said that it's more of a victim of this system because he has been playing for years as a typical right winger that likes to cut inside and cross towards the far post, and this kind of positioning as an inverted forward doesn't really allow him to find that kind of space and time to provide those crosses. So in my opinion, I think it's still a personal issue. In terms of mentality, I feel that it was slightly better than against Man City. Maybe the flow of the game brought it, because we had that kind of initiative after Chiesa scored, but we didn't really find the chemistry and the clinical edge that would have provided us the equalizer. So at the moment, I feel that it's down to the players, especially the inverted forwards, who need maybe a bit of more time to build this kind of chemistry with Lukaku after playing for a number of games. I think half a season last year with a false nine, which allowed them to have a better flow of the game in the opposition box. So I think it will come over time, but this, of course, this kind of to lose, especially after winning the Super Cup and starting the season in a convincing fashion, leaves a bitter taste. But I think that after all players are back, Kante is back, Mount is back, and I said even before that I wouldn't exclude Ruben's positioning as an inverted forward yet, because he has shown when he is at his best, especially in Europa League, that he can provide good chemistry with center forwards. I think that we can have a better judgment, but I don't think it's on Tuchel yet.
Kenneth, let's go to you. Same question.
So me personally, the only thing It's because I want to say the easy answer is both, because who picks the team? Tuchel.
Right.
I was worried. I was so worried having Ziyech and Havertz start, because they both like to drop into the midfield. They both like to be on the ball. And that's why I was hoping if Ziyech started that we play like a 3-5-2 with like an attacking mid, because Ziyech has played the attacking mid, and he's best when the play goes through him. Havertz can play as a striker. He can play as a partner to Lukaku. Granted, I'd rather have Timo. My ideal lineup would have been Timo, Lukaku, one to stretch, one to hold up, and Havertz, one to progress the ball. But I gotta say, we saw this matchup with Lukaku, Havertz, and Kai. I think it might have been against Zenit, and it was poor. It was terrible. It was awful. So we see the same thing, and once again, it's terrible. The offensive link-up is awful. So I kind of am leaning a little more towards, because obviously I'm, who am I? Just a guy,
right? Yeah.
But I'm leaning towards what Alex said in terms of the matchup. We had Lukaku, who likes to hold up play, and we have the 210s who like to drop deep. No one to stretch the play. No one to give the defenders anything to think about. Everything is in front of them. They're cool with that. They love that. So maybe like Havertz can stretch the play at times, but we didn't see him doing that. We didn't see any balls over the top or anything like that. And then when they drop 10, I guess you could go towards maybe the players in terms of creativity when they eventually move the ball up slowly. A lot of times are
real slow.
When you pass it to Ziyech, that's one thing that was annoying me when we were breaking. We had a fast break, and then you pass the ball to Ziyech. Instead of him like kind of absorbing the touch and turning, he like put the touch back towards our goal, and then that immediately killed the counter. And I'm like, so like there's favor on the player, there's on the players there, but I gotta say, like I knew this was going to happen. I knew we weren't going to be able to break lines and situations in the 3-4-3 with Havertz and Mount at the 10. I mean, not Havertz and Mount, Havertz and Ziyech at the 10. So I would still lean a little more towards this being on Tuchel, because I mean, we're pointing out you're a world-class manager. I know you are. I know it. But also going back to what was said previously, Mount's back, Pulisic's back. I don't think that's even an option. I don't think that front three starts this game anyway. But we were talking about how we're supposed to have such depth, such quality and depth too, and we're seeing it right now. I love Mason Mount, but it's a problem when he's out the team. Even Pulisic, I love Pulisic. It's a problem. Got him on the back of his jersey. It's a problem. Those two players are out the team, and then we're just like, I don't know. What do you do? I don't know. What do you do? Let's just pass it back and forth and hope something happens. So
and that when you've seen it the last probably 3 times that we've played with a team that's going to sit back on us. The second that Lukaku gets the ball at his feet, there are 3 defenders in there before he even touches the ball. There's 3 defenders in there. So what do you expect to happen when that happens? I mean, Lukaku is a decent passer and everything like that. Don't get me wrong, but there's just no space for anything to progress, anything to unfold. And Juventus, mind you, is a very seasoned defenders, really good center backs and whatnot, but I think the setup was just kind of poor, and like the personnel choices, as you said, Kenneth. Alex, I mean, where do you kind of lean towards in that?
I think more of it has to be down to Tuchel. He's the one who picks the team. He's the one who picks the 11. Now, obviously, part of it has to be down to the players, because they're the ones that are giving him the confidence that, these players will probably perform. But at the same time, you have 3 left-footed players on the pitch. In the front 3. You got to have at least one that is right-footed. Having 3 that are left-footed is very strange. Also, those 3 players love to dominate the right side of the pitch. What does that mean for the left? Alonso basically gets dominate a wing back.
Oh,
To be fair to Alonso, he likes to basically cut inside and make inverted runs and basically score. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is you can't have a wing. You can't depend on a wing back to score. To basically cut inside and score a goal. But so you basically have that. Now, when I saw the lineup, I was immediately worried because I knew that either Havertz or Ziyech were going to be the ones that were going to be paired up with Lukaku up front. It was so obvious to see. One is going to be on the left, the other one's going to be on the right, and whoever was on the left was going to struggle. This time it was Ziyech. And everyone is saying, oh, Ziyech is bad, Ziyech is horrible. Look at where he's been positioned this season under Tuchel. Where has he been positioned? As a striker.
Yeah.
And the thing about Ziyech is that people don't understand. When he was at Ajax, this is a player who I basically did an analysis like a couple of years ago. And this is a guy who doesn't go beyond the striker. He's a player who likes to drop deep and influence the play. Someone like you got to treat, I think, you got to treat him a little bit like Philippe Coutinho. Are you going to ask Philippe Coutinho to be, in basically those type of areas at striker, or are you going to ask him to be in the attacking midfield areas of the pitch?
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest problem is that people don't realize that actually, it's frustrating. So you have that situation. Then you have Havertz who's not even performing at the moment, and you're just like, I want you to perform because the manager's giving you a chance, and and there is like you are a generational talent to us as fans, but you're not exactly offering it. And then the problem is, it's like also there is too much dependence on two key players up front. Mason Mount in midfield, Romelu Lukaku in attack. If either of these two players are not there or not performing,
it
seems like something is missing.
Yeah.
So this is why I made the argument of, okay, Werner, Pulisic, Odoi, they're the ones competing on the left, right? Left striker, left forward.
Mm-hmm.
Lukaku, Havertz, they're the ones that are competing for the right striker role. Now the thing is, though, the reason why I say, even though I say Havertz can drop deep and influence the play, the thing about it is that Havertz, as long as he goes and dominates the right side of the pitch, it's fine. But he needs to dominate either the right side of the pitch or drop deep and influence the play while dominating the right side of the pitch. Mm-hmm. It has to be one or the other. And the thing is, he didn't do as well today, but at the same time, it's also because, just one of those things where it just didn't work out for him. And then that's why I also believe that at the cam role or at the right forward role, technically right forward role, would be, your Mount, your Loftus-Cheek, your Ziyech, those type of positions. That's where they would dominate. They're the ones that drop deep, influence the play. If we set that up in that shape and we make it clear that those are the players you're supposed to be competing with, to me, it would look more organized.
Yeah. No, I completely understand what you're saying, and you make a lot of excellent points. And I feel like you're right that there are a few players that are just simply not playing in their most ideal spots, and it's kind of a square peg in the round hole type of thing. I mean, and you can look no further than I thought Liam Toomey from The Athletic put out a great tweet of when Callum came on, and it was, I guess the only way that Callum's going to play is that he'd rather switch to a 3-5-2 Tuchel than put Callum in that left spot where he's preferred.
Yeah, but at the same time, Azpilicueta came off, so who else was there really to go at right wing back?
For sure.
So I understand the argument. It's just there was no, if basically he took off Azpilicueta, it makes sense because Reece James is injured at the moment. But if Azpilicueta stayed on, I definitely understand that argument.
I guess we would, we don't know why he came off. I mean, if it was simply just for tactics, I guess that's when I would have the question that I just posed. But if it was,
he was getting smoked by Chiesa.
Yeah,
he was getting smoked by Cuadrado. Like I said that earlier in the group chat. I'm like, if I'm a Juventus fan, like, the Cuadrado Alonso matchup should be 100. If I was a coach, I'd be like hitting that 100%. Because if you got anyone with pace against Alonso, it's a wrap. When we gave the ball away in situations like that, they're already up and gone. They don't have to worry about Alonso beating them in behind, things like that. When we're playing really well in the midfield and through Lincoln attack, and then Alonso comes from his late runs, yeah, sure. But when they all drop back, there's nowhere for Alonso to go. There's nowhere, he can't quickly do a burst like, say, Chile can and then cross the ball, flash it across, or anything akin like that. But
and to bounce on what he said as well, it's not like the players are blameless. Yes, okay, obviously Tuchel has some responsibility, probably most. But at the same time, the midfield and the defense, they normally play well. So there's normally not much issues. And then suddenly they have a poor performance against City. And obviously now today against Juventus, that's on them technically.
Yeah.
So in terms of the front three, I definitely believe Tuchel is responsible. But in terms of the midfield and the defense, that's on those players that were fielded, because they probably gave Tuchel hope that they would perform. And when for example, when basically Juventus scored, look at that defense. They were pretty much standing like
they're still in the locker room.
Yeah. They were still mentally, they were still in the locker room. It's like, what do you call those plastic those mannequins?
Yeah.
They look like mannequins. The only one who wasn't was Rudiger, because he's the only one who tried to block the shot from going in
from the left side all the way on the right side.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought this was one of Christensen's.
The reason I'm defending somewhat Tuchel is because he made the substitutions at a convenient time, especially, and he has shown also in the past games that he has been flexible enough to change things around when he has seen that it isn't going right. We saw it against Tottenham with putting Kante in and subbing Mount off. We saw it against Villa when he subbed Saul to put Jorginho, despite the fact that Jorginho had been playing a lot of games, even with the national team, full 90 minutes, and still we got to turn the game around. So I'm very happy in this aspect that Tuchel has proved to be a very flexible manager in these situations. So when I was reading the tweets at halftime, there were many people very fairly suggesting that we should put Chilwell on, put Odoi on, put Loftus-Cheek on in order to try to find a way to break through. And I think he made 3 immediate substitutions with Chalobah, Ruben, and Odoi in the 60th minute, which is it means 30 minutes, like 1/3 of the game, and we still didn't seem able to find a way to break through. So there are not so much regret. I agree that they should have started, because we raised the flow of the game with the passing of the minutes, but I'm not so sure if they would have had the same impact in terms of pushing the team forward if the result would be 0-0. So it's a matter of everything has to be considered, like mentality, as you mentioned, how we perform when we are in a 0-0 and how we react after being 1-0 down. So that's a matter of hypothetical scenarios that we can't really predict now. But I think Tuchel did well in terms of timing of the substitutions. But let's see how it goes and what changes we can have in the next games. I'm disappointed with the fact that we started with 3 left-footed attackers, but I'm not so sure if it could have made much of an impact if Odoi or Loftus-Cheek would have started from the beginning in terms of creating chances and hitting Juventus goals more. We had 13 shots and only 1 on target. This is
just to counter that though, the problem is that we will never know if it would have made an impact because they didn't start. But at the same time, the argument is, yes, okay, he made the changes at halftime, but at sometimes, just making the change at halftime isn't going to make an impact all the time. There are situations where you need to make the right decision at the start. You cannot always depend on halftime substitutions to help you out. I remember, I don't know if it was Emery or Arteta, he would depend on halftime substitutions to basically make sure that Arsenal would win. sorry, I mean, there comes a point where Tuchel cannot depend on his halftime subs to just make sure that, basically the game is won. He needs to make sure that the game, basically Chelsea score in the first half. And that's not what we're seeing at the moment. They're not scoring in the first half. That's the concern.
Yep. And so we got a couple of comments here. One from Trey Frazier, his former fellow Byline Avenger. Are we going to be able to beat the second season hangover? And then from Stu here, a little bit of a rash reaction.
That's right. It's those comments like that I don't take notice of, because these are people that just want to either click, like basically get attention.
Yeah.
I just move on from those kind of conversations. Don't listen to them. We'll deal with it once we get there. I think the board know very well that type of situation. They'll handle it. It's not up to us to decide. We don't have any influence over that. So don't even think about that. That's basically a couple of months from now.
I think just his last couple of words in this sentence is just a little interesting, though. I think style and identity. And I think that's something that we're having a little bit of an impasse with against these really top clubs that have against, to do this sit back formation against us and basically say, hey, break us down. We dare you. That's something that has been an issue. I mean, even when Tuchel came in, it's been an issue. And we thought Lukaku's coming in, Havertz is going to take that next step. Mm-hmm. We don't really have that identity in that space. I think that's something that is, it's kind of alarming. Against bad teams, we can overcome that based off of our talent. But against teams that are really positionally sound, like Juventus was, Man City was, I think that he kind of brings a good point that there needs to be, and this is also, Lukaku is very fresh into the team, and people are going to get acclimated with each other one way or the other. But I think that today was where we saw maybe that identity that we thought we had needs a little tweaking.
I agree.
I mean,
I think. Wait. Hold on. I think.
Go ahead.
From the core of it, we're still a counterattacking team. We love when teams come at us.
Mm-hmm.
And our best attack before, when we had a false nine, our forwards and our striker were always interchanging, always switching around. So it kind of gave the defense, a hard time. Now with just Lukaku's just straight there. He's not interchanging with the three of them as frequently, I would say, because normally in this game he was dead in the middle the whole time. And it's like, hey, I'm not going to ask in a 3-4-3 Lukaku to go all way out on the right for 15, 20 minutes to give him something different or something like that. But if you're playing, that's why I wanted to play two at the top, one that can stretch, and then Lukaku can hold up, because then they can alternate who's doing what in situations like that. It was just, we were just kind of predictable. It was just
the thing is,
hey, wait. It's just
yes, okay, hey, sorry.
So against small teams that pack the box, what was our options? Try to go outside and cross it, and then Lukaku comes and we try to fizz it into him, but then we can't play. We're not even playing any 1-2s. Our 10s aren't even close enough making runs off of him. The midfielders are not making runs off of him. I mean, I guess, yes, this will be something that grows as obviously time goes. I mean, we haven't even played 10. Have we even played 5 games, Lukaku?
Yeah, right around there, 4 or 5, somewhere in there.
Yeah, something like that. So that's why I'm not too stressed, but I'm just over the long haul. But just looking at these two back-to-back performances, the one thing we wanted to do, play off the transition against Man City, we just couldn't connect any passes together and beat them how we beat them the last 3 times.
Right.
And now this game, the opposite, when a team sits back and wants to do something with it, we're like, I don't know, score. We just look at the ball.
Yeah.
Something. So,
you don't want these performances. You don't want these performances to tumble. You don't want it to be a landslide going downhill. That's an avalanche that's going to keep going. I think this international break is going to come at a really good time for us, to be honest with you. I think Southampton is going to be not an easy performance, but it's one you would obviously say we're better than them. Even if they do sit back, we should break them down. We should win. But,
let's not get cocky here. Let's not get cocky on that one. You never know what can happen. I mean, they did draw to Manchester United, so.
No, I know, but like if you looked at these two teams, even with form, you would say that you would be disappointed if we didn't win, right?
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not discrediting them and saying that they're not gonna, put out a performance against us, because they have before and they could again. But that's a team where if you do that same type of thing that has happened the last two games where you don't show up, that's a problem. That's a concern. If you don't show up for that game, I think that's an issue. It's a huge issue. But like you said, we have some couple days to get there.
I do have a question for y'all. What would you say our identity is? What type of team are we?
I mean, I think a counterattacking team, a team that's not going to give up a lot of goals, that is going to, counterattack. And I think part of our identity is, unfortunately, that if you sit back on us, we're going to have a tough time. Just based off of what I've seen in these first 5 or 6 games. If you're a good team and you're organized, it's going to take us at least a half to figure it out. And if we're not going to win, it's, we're not going to score. It's just kind of as simple as that. I mean, I don't want to be super negative and jump to mad conclusions, but I think when you get down to it, that's what it is. I mean, you even look at last year when Tuchel came in, that was our identity, really. Sit back, counter, score goals when you can. Like our best offense is our defense. I mean, Tuchel said that.
Back against Atletico, who are known to be a defensive team, and we were countering. We got one lucky goal with Giroud, and then the counterattack at the very end with Emerson.
Yeah, it's timely goals. When you look at our Champions League run, not many games would you say that we superly outclassed the team. Defensively fine, but all of our games that we won pretty much were pretty much really timely goals. All of them. Like you said with Atletico, Man City, seizing an opportunity that's there. Porto even could have beaten the brakes off of Porto. We didn't. It was seizing an opportunity that's there. And if Chelsea does not seize these opportunities moving forward,
I'm just looking for them at this point to create those opportunities, because we're not even seeing. It's pretty much
what I disagree is that what you actually suggesting is more of a style of play rather than an identity. An identity is more or less what's the identity of the club, as in from the owner, from the board. The style of play is based on more of the manager. The identity of Roman is to compete in every single trophy. That's the identity of Chelsea Football Club. Mm-hmm. That has not changed since Roman has arrived. Compete in every single trophy and get as many trophies as you can, season by season. In terms of the style of play, now that's obviously how Tuchel wants to play. He wants to play attacking football. He's not a guy who wants to sit back. He wants to dominate possession, right? That's clear. The problem is, over the past few games, it hasn't been like that because he's allowed teams like Liverpool and Manchester City and Juventus to dominate possession.
Juventus didn't dominate possession.
Wait, hang on. No, sorry. Liverpool and Man City to dominate possession. And so he basically said, you know what, let's sit back, let's go on the counter. The problem is it feels like the players are not really used to that because, obviously in the last season, they were the ones who would dominate possession and try and basically create a chance from there and be attacking, not be defensive and go on the counter.
Yeah, I really think it has been pre-planned to let the other teams come at us and attack. And Tuchel emphasized it after Man City game that he didn't want the team to be that deep and was constantly shouting and being angry with the players during the first half that they were inviting City's pressure and being unable to go out of their press. So there is context about everything. Even against Liverpool, I think we were playing 2-2 with them and could have even won the game if Reeves' red card wouldn't have been awarded. So we were forced by the numerical inferiority to be at the to defend that 1-1 draw, and we did brilliantly in that second half. So I wouldn't draw conclusions in terms of this aspect. And as you said, Tuchel has been an attacking manager, and I have always seen him as so. So I haven't got even the kind of arguments that he's a defensive manager. Even against Man City, I don't agree that we try to play defensive. We just had a sort of mentality problem,
Well,
sort of strategy.
Okay, but we let Man City dominate. I think that's probably what it was. We sat back a little bit too much, but we weren't defensive. We just allowed them more the ball.
Yeah, but I don't think that it has been something of a strategy to look. We bet them 3 times, and now we have to overthink it, how to beat them for the 4th time. So let's try something new and not go head to head with them, but just sit back and try to play the balls through to Lukaku, who will use his physicality and create chances for Werner, who was playing alongside him that day. So I think it was more of a sort of intimidation that factor that City created since the very beginning. It shouldn't have happened, absolutely. But I don't believe even Tuchel's comments after the game showed that he wasn't happy with the way we let City gain that kind of territory and come to our box constantly. We are performing very well in a defensive aspect, especially in the first half in terms of limiting their chances, but because they couldn't go get in, but even though we couldn't get out. So I don't believe it was a defensive performance in principle, but it came the flow of the game, and City were brilliant. It seemed that Pep had tried it super hard just for ego issues to not let us win that game. We saw them against PSG last night, and they had the possession, had a lot of chances, and still were beaten by PSG's clinicality of their front three. Like Messi scored a wonderful goal. So I don't believe that it was a sort of defensive plan, and I don't feel that Tuchel has had this kind of idea to make us sit back and wait for the counter. It was just a sort of problem of intimidation. And in terms of that kind of identity we're talking about, I would say that there are 2 sides of the medal. So I don't want to say that, okay, we didn't break down Man City or especially Juve tonight, who had this kind of 4-4-2, played with 2 blocks and didn't allow us to attack. But also against Atletico, okay, it was a miracle from Giroud, that kind of bicycle kick. But we did very well in terms of applying the pressure. And even in the second game, even though Atletico tried to play more in attack because they had they were 1-0 down from the start, we still had an identity shown, really. Like, it's not a coincidence that we just won every game on XG and played with determination and courage in all those rounds, despite the difficult draw we had, much more difficult than Man City actually, and played with right dignity and courage. So I wouldn't say we have a lack of style of identity. We want to be attacking, but it has to. It's a matter of how is it our day or not, and how effective we are in terms of bringing.
Yeah, but I guess that's probably the problem. It's like, even if it's not your day, you still need to have a play. Like, if basically most of the players are not having a good day, there needs to still at least be someone who can just turn up and do something, right? I mean, you can't have like the whole team performing badly.
I just want to ask, like, what? So I'm having a hard time going, like, thinking in my head last season with Tuchel, games that the team was like, yeah, we're going to be a low block, and we like completely played through. We played around. We played through. We like dismantled the defensive block like that. Because I remember games where we got lucky, like Southampton, I think last year. That was when Mount won the penalty, that we weren't doing anything offensively. We won the penalty, and that's how we got the goal to win that game. Teams that do try to play attacking against us, or at least when the games kind of have its ebb and flows. Like, I understand what you're saying in terms of, we're not like, hey, we're going to completely play on the counter. But Tuchel made it so our counters were deadly. Like, in all realness, Juventus should have been up 2-0 in the halftime. We were split open, but that was like a wayward pass by Kovacic twice, and they couldn't finish. But when we had the ball, we had them pressed to their box. They had the whole. What do? We don't take long shots. I know that.
No.
We don't do intricate passing in and around. We don't do that. We try to cross, but I mean, we've tried crossing against low blocks since Lampard.
It makes it predictable, I think. That's what you're trying to.
Yeah,
exactly. It's either we cross or we take shots. That's the thing. It's like, but the thing is like if we do, it's obviously close to one of the opposition players when we take a shot. That's the problem. It's like even if it's outside the box, they do it they did it, I think, today very close to the Juventus players. See, they didn't basically allow themselves to have space and then take a shot.
I understand. That's the difference, though. Look at Saturday. We got pressed into our box, and we were playing really well defensively with a really good Man City attacking side. Yet, how many times do we need to rely on Mendy for saves? You know what I'm saying? They made enough space to get enough chances where they're not. We were deflecting shots off them. They won the game off a deflected shot, but they kept shooting. And guess what? They got the goal to win. Like here, like this game, Rudiger maybe, and then maybe Ziyech. Like I can count on one hand the amount of times we even tried. Even if it gets deflected, I don't care. I don't care if shots get deflected when we try a shot. I don't care if we lose the ball when we try to thread a pass in the final third to get open the shot. Because obviously, you need to take a risk. And
you need to take chance, right? And you need to take chances. I think that was one thing that was like kind of the most upsetting. I think at some point, if you keep trying one thing, you got to try something else. And to be honest with you, you guys are talking about crossing the ball. I mean, there was a lot of poor cross attempts, to be honest with you. A lot of really low crosses that didn't even offer a chance. But when we did have the few ones at the end of the game that got up there, I mean, we probably had 3 of our best chances, the 2 Kai ones, and then the Lukaku one was pretty close also. But so
the thing is, though, we had 16 shots in that game. Only 1 was on target.
No.
So that is a lot of shots. The thing is like they were. I think a lot of the shots were very, like when I saw them, were just too close to the Juventus players. You needed to use the space that was left in behind. And that's the problem. It's like they didn't really use it. They either had a touch, like slowly took a touch and allowed the Juventus players to come onto them, to close them down. Exactly, Ken. And so that's the problem. It's like, okay, but it's fast. You get the ball. It's like Gilmore, how he would play. Gilmore would basically have a look around, see what's around him before he receives the ball. Then when he receives the ball, he has to look quickly again. I don't see any of those players doing that.
Too much time.
Yeah, Mount does it too. He looks when the ball's coming to him, he looks quickly. And that's so many
name me another player apart from Mason Mount and Billy Gilmore that does
Ruben does it in the midfield.
Yeah,
okay. But like the key players, the ones that start
the attackers. I can't name you. I can't name you any.
Yeah. Well, a lot of great points. I unfortunately have to go take an accounting exam, so I'm in a terrible mindset for that. So I will.
You should not have watched the game. I wouldn't come on a live stream for that. To be honest, that was a bad idea.
To be fair, did you expect us to come out with such a Limp Bizkit attack?
To be honest, I've just been kind of worried. I'm not worried, but I'm the type of guy where, like, if you look, I look at trends that happen over a certain amount of games. And even like the Villa Carabao Cup game, while it wasn't our first team players, all of them, there were some subs, but like just slowly you've been seeing that it's kind of been trending towards what performance we were going to give today. And just, I don't know. I think it's like I said, the international break can come at a better time, I think, for us. Hopefully we can work some things out. Thanks to everyone that came in and viewed. That was awesome. Thanks for you guys for jumping in kind of last minute. I was just like, you know what? Everyone's upset. Let's talk about it. Let's hash it out. So everybody, thanks for coming on. As always, I will put all these guys' Twitter links in the bio if you are watching. Post live. So that was awesome. And thanks, guys. And please subscribe, follow all of us on Twitter. We're all great time. So awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.